a very exciting time here at Budsies. We sell everything from mums to pumpkins to corn stalks and everything in between. With all the different squashes and pumpkins that Budsies carries, we often have people ask us what's edible and what's not edible, and how do you eat it and how do you cook it. So we thought it might be helpful if we do a segment on all the edible pumpkins and squashes we have here at Budsies. The first squash is my absolute favorite. It's called the delicata squash. It's also known to some people as the sweet potato squash. My mom's favorite way to cook the delicata squash is by making it into soup. However, mine is to cut it lengthwise, take all the seeds out of the middle, and then chop it up, put it on a pan. No need to take off the skin. You eat the skin too. You put it on a pan with some olive oil and some steak seasonings. You cook it on 375 for about 20 to 25 minutes, and they taste almost identical to sweet potato fries. They are my favorite squash to eat. Next squash is a little bit more common. It's called the acorn squash. A lot of people cut it in half, add butter and add brown sugar, or even sometimes maple syrup, and cook it in the oven. My favorite thing to do is cook it kind of like a stuffed pepper. I stuff it with hamburg meat, onions, and peppers, and put some cheese on the top, and it is absolutely delicious, and it makes for a full meal. The next squash is the carnival squash. It has the appearance of an acorn squash, but it's white with green stripes and a little green speckles. It has a sweet brown sugar-like taste. My favorite way to cook it is to stuff it with apples, brown sugar, and a little bit of thyme, and let it cook in the oven. Makes for a delicious dessert-like squash. Next is the blue pumpkin. It is called the Ghirardelli pumpkin. If you were to cut into this, it kind of has the inside of a cantaloupe. Just like a cantaloupe, you cut it up. You take out the seed and put it in a pot with about a cup of water and seasonings such as cinnamon, nutmeg, all those kind of pumpkin pie seasonings, and you boil it down and then you eat it. It's absolutely delightful. On to my favorite pumpkin. It's the sugar pumpkin. This is the pumpkin used for pumpkin pie. It is just a little bit sweeter, so it's good for cooking. My favorite recipe is cutting the top off and taking out the seeds like you're about to carve it, but instead stuffing it with cranberries, walnuts, and apples, and a little bit of butter and a little bit of cinnamon, and cooking it in the oven. Next, this is the new one to Budsies this year. This is called the Blaze Pumpkin. This has the same capabilities of the sugar pumpkin. It has, the sweetness and good for pies and cooking. But it also has this cool candy striped appearance, which makes it kind of neat because you can use it as a decoration and then cook with it. Cooler squash we have is the Blue Hubbard. They can get up to 30 to 40 pounds. They have a very similar taste to the butternut squash. However, they have a very hard skin, so they're a little hard to open. So when you go to open them, the easiest way to do it is to drop it on a hard surface to break them up, and then keep breaking them into smaller pieces, roasting them, and you can scoop out the puree and you can make it into soups or whatever you desire. This neat pumpkin is called the peanut pumpkin due to its peanut-like outer appearance. These peanut growths are caused by an excess amount of sugar that the plant produces. This makes the flesh desirable for such things such as cheesecakes and breads. The inside taste is comparable to a Blue Hubbard. Squash is one of the most famous squashes, the butternut squash. It's the squash I grew up as a kid. My mom cut it in 2 halves, put a little bit of butter and a little bit of brown sugar, and that was one of our sides. I puree it and I make it into baby food for my kids. Both of my children, this was their first meal. And if my mom was doing this recording, she would say butternut squash makes the best soup. Concludes our video on our edible squashes and pumpkins we have here at Budsies. Feel free to leave your own recipes and ideas in the comment section, as well as any comments or questions you might have for me. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.